Now that Yellowstone universe is expanding with 1923 Season 2 and the Madison, I feel like it is time to refresh our minds about the Dutton family tree. Because, let's be honest, this family tree is the candidate to be the most complicated family tree on TV. Like, even Dallas looks innocent next to it. Thankfully, as of 2025, with multiple prequel series, upcoming sequels, and a bunch of hints within the original series, we finally have somewhat of a clear picture of what the Dutton family tree looks like. So, let's talk about it. Starting from the very beginning, the Dutton family tree traces all the way back to James Dutton and Margaret Dutton. These two are the original settlers of the Yellowstone Ranch, carving out a life in the brutal landscape of Montana in the late 19th century. James, played by Tim McGraw in 1883, was a Civil War veteran who led his family west, hoping for a fresh start. But the journey was anything but easy. Tragedy followed them at every turn, and by the time they finally reached Montana, they had already lost their daughter, Elsa. Her death was one of the most defining moments of the Dutton legacy because it cemented the family's connection to the land. James buried her there, and from that moment on, the Yellowstone Ranch became more than just a place. It basically became a holy land for the Duttons. Margaret Dutton, played by Faith Hill, was just as strong as her husband. She endured heartbreak after heartbreak, but never wavered in protecting her family. After James died, something that was only shown as a flashback scene in Yellowstone Season 4, Margaret was left to raise their two sons, John Dutton Sr. and Spencer Dutton, on her own. But as you can expect, the hardships kept coming. Eventually, she wrote to James's brother, Jacob Dutton, begging for help. And that's how Jacob and his wife, Kara, came into the picture, which brings us to our next prequel, 1923. Jacob Dutton, played by Harrison Ford, took over the ranch when James was gone. He became the new patriarch, and alongside Kara, played by Helen Mirren, he fought tooth and nail to keep the land in the family. Jacob and Kara never had children of their own, but they raised John Dutton Sr. and Spencer like they were their own sons. John Sr. grew up to be a dedicated rancher, while Spencer, haunted by the trauma of World War I, found himself seeking solace and purpose far away from home. His storyline in 1923 was one of the most interesting and popular because it showed a completely different side of the Duttons. For once, we watched a man shaped by war and an epic love that pushed him to fight his way back to Montana. John Dutton Sr. is the father of Jack Dutton. Jack got married to Elizabeth. They tried to have a baby, but soon found out that they cannot have any. Up until this point, we were believing that Jack was the father of John Dutton II. But with this revelation, we got extremely confused on who John Dutton II's father is. Don't worry, we will talk about this confusion more in just a second. Plus, since the upcoming prequel 1944 is still not out, so little is known about John II that it almost feels like he's a ghost in the family tree. We know he existed. We know he was John III's father. But beyond that, everything feels intentionally vague. And that brings me to John Dutton III, played by the one and only Kevin Costner. We know him as the man who has fought harder than anyone to keep the ranch together, but, as I said, his lineage is the biggest question mark of all. Is it just me, or is the mystery surrounding his bloodline has only deepened as the show has progressed? I mean, theories have swirled for years. Some of you guys believe John III could be adopted, while others think there's a missing link in the Dutton lineage that hasn't been revealed yet. Since Taylor Sheridan has never fully explained John II's life, he left room for endless speculation. In a recent interview, Brandon Sklenar, who plays Spencer Dutton, once hinted that Spencer could be the missing link between the older generations and John Dutton III, saying, "Spencer's journey is far from over. There's more to him than we've seen, and I think his story will have lasting consequences." Kevin also previously weighed in, saying, "John Dutton carries the past with him, but the real question is, who was before him, and is there someone else who should have been in his place?" Meanwhile, Taylor has remained tight-lipped about the specifics, but has teased by saying that the Dutton lineage isn't as straightforward as people assume. Personally, I strongly believe the theory that suggests Spencer is the father to John Dutton II. We know that Alexandra is pregnant in Season 2. We also hope that she will arrive in Montana eventually. But there is also high speculation that neither her nor Spencer will survive 1923. In that case, there is a huge possibility that their baby, John Dutton II, will be adopted by Jack and Elizabeth and raised as their own. This seems like the most reasonable explanation so far, but let me know what you think. Now, if we had somewhat of an understanding on John Dutton III's bloodline, onto the modern-day Duttons. There's Case, John's youngest son. He's always been torn between two worlds, the legacy of his family and the life he's built with Monica and Tate. Luke Grimes, who plays Case, once said, Case doesn't want to be his father, but deep down, he knows he's more like him than he'd care to admit. That internal struggle is what makes Case such a compelling character. He wants to break free from the cycle of violence and power, but every time he tries, something pulls him back in. Beth Dutton, played by Kelly Riley, is a force of nature. She's as ruthless as they come, but her love for her father is undeniable. Beth is the most loyal person in the world, Riley said. She would burn everything to the ground for John, and she wouldn't think twice about it. Her relationship with Rip Wheeler only adds another layer to her complexity. Their love story is one of the best parts of Yellowstone, but it's also deeply tragic. Beth carries so much pain from her past, and Rip is the only person who truly understands her. Jamie Dutton, on the other hand, is the ultimate outsider. He's spent his whole life trying to prove himself, but no matter what he does, he'll never truly be accepted by his family. Wes Bentley, who plays Jamie, once said, Jamie is trapped. He's been trapped his entire life. And the sad thing is, he doesn't even know if he wants to escape. Jamie's complicated relationship with John and the revelation about his true parentage makes his character arc one of the most tragic in the series. And we all know how tragic things have ended for him. I don't know about you guys, but I still feel very much upset about his final moments in Yellowstone. And then there's the next generation. Who is Tate, the only confirmed biological grandson of John Dutton III? Well, we already know that he won't own the Yellowstone Ranch. But since he has a Native American blood in him, he still has the chance to have a claim over the Yellowstone Ranch one day. Plus, there's Jamie's son, Jamie Jr., who is not linked to the Duttons by blood, but he is a Dutton nonetheless. So do not be surprised to see him rivaling Tate over the Yellowstone Ranch one day. But we will see. For more weekly updates on the Duttons and the Yellowstone universe, make sure to like and follow. To see what Cole Hauser and Taylor Sheridan fight about, watch the video on the screen.